Contractor.
This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by HVAC Trust Books. Go to hvactrustbooks.com to discover how this tool can help you close more sales. Thank you for joining us. Here's how we will help your business and you today. How can I be profitable and still go broke? You will answer this question in the first segment of this podcast. Then in the second segment, you'll hear the first part of my interview with Bill Gentry, how to be the boss that everyone wants to work for. Let's get started. In the last segment, I had a question from a contractor who said, my P&L shows that I had a profit, but where's the cash? In this segment, I really want to talk about how you can be profitable and still go broke. There are actually 5 ways that are really common. And so we're going to talk about them. And then after the break, we'll have my conversation with Bill. So here are the 5 ways. First, doing profitable work and collecting for it months later or never collecting for it after you've paid your employees and your suppliers. The contractor I talked about last segment was a very profitable contractor. But he had 3 GCs go out on him in the same week, and they all filed bankruptcy and left him holding the bag for $1 million in receivables. He didn't have the cash to cover the $1 million. He went out too. It's a hard lesson to learn. So you can do profitable work and never be able to collect for it. Or I've also seen in contractors' offices work that was done, let's say in June, and the financing paperwork is still sitting on their desk in August. You got to get paid. And if it was a type of thing where you actually didn't bill until August, if I got a bill in August for work that I did in June, I'd think you didn't need your money, and it might take me another 2 or 3 months to pay you because it wasn't important for you to ask for the money, and so it's probably not important that you get the money. And that's generally what your customers will think if you don't bill promptly. Number 2, not having timely, accurate financial statements so that you can make sure that your service replacement and new construction jobs are sold at a profitable price. You've got to have statements where your revenues match your expenses every single month, and so that you can see that your gross margins are consistent every single month. If they're not, you've got a problem. You'll have to find out where the problem lies, whether it's productivity, i.e. you're assuming a job will take 16 hours and it's actually taking 32, or whether it's the guys maybe just being lazy, or somebody didn't order properly, or maybe somebody made a mistake on the estimate. But if you don't have timely, accurate financial statements, you'll never know this. And getting June's financial statements in October, that doesn't help you. If you have unprofitable jobs, they could have sunk you by then. Number 3, and this is one of my favorite reasons, because you cannot tell how well you're doing. If you're using the cash method instead of the accrual method of accounting, you will never know whether your jobs are profitable or not. The cash method means that you record a sale when you get paid. You record an expense when you pay the bill. There are no accounts receivable and no accounts payable. I know of no contractor who does not have accounts payable. Some of you who are totally COD may only have a few accounts receivable for jobs you did at the end of the month. But you've got payables and you've got inventory, so you really and truly must be on the accrual method of accounting. And the accrual method means that you record a sale when you send the customer an invoice, even if the customer has not paid yet. You record an expense when you receive an invoice from a vendor, even if you haven't paid the bill. You do have accounts receivable and accounts payable. The cash method of accounting almost always shows a profit, whether or not your service worker replacement jobs are profitable, since you generally don't pay your bills until you have cash to pay them. Otherwise, the banker is going to be closing your account because of bad checks and checks that you bounce because you wrote them without money in the bank. Number 4, performing profitable work and the client files bankruptcy during the middle of a project, leaving your company with hundreds of thousands of dollars in receivables that are uncollectible. We talked about that already in number 1. Number 5, purchasing too much inventory, giving your employees total access to your warehouse, and allowing them to keep too much on their trucks. You're betting your hard-earned cash that you can sell what you've bought. So what does your warehouse look like? And your employees think, oh my gosh, they can afford it. I think I'll take 2 of these and 3 of these, and I might need a few more of these than they say on the material lists. Make sure that you have material lists, you have locked up your warehouse, you have a person who has the key, and make sure that everything gets written down that is taken out of the warehouse. It's amazing how much you will save. It's amazing how much the guys can hoard on their trucks. It is your cash that is being spent on assets. And if you don't actually sell them to a customer, your hard-earned cash is sitting in trucks and sitting in your warehouse. Go take a look at yours. What does it look like? Here's a rule of thumb. You need about 10% of your projected growth in cash to fund the growth. So, for example, if your plan is to grow by $250,000 this year, you need $25,000 in cash to fund that growth. So what's that cash used for? It's used for increased inventory, increased accounts receivable, if your company is not a COD company, increased overhead expenses, and potentially a vehicle or other fixed asset purchase. So here are the 5 again. Doing profitable work and collecting for it months later, or never collecting for it after you paid your employees and suppliers. Number 2, not having timely, accurate financial statements so that you can make sure that your service, replacement, and new construction jobs are sold at a profitable price. Number 3, using the cash method instead of the accrual method of accounting. Number 4, performing profitable work and the client files bankruptcy during the middle of a project, leaving your company with hundreds of thousands of dollars in receivables that are uncollected. And number 5, purchasing too much inventory, giving your employees total access to your warehouse, and allowing them to keep too much on their trucks. Remember that profits don't pay the bills. However, profitable jobs are necessary to pay the bills. Collect for your profitable work quickly, pay your bills associated with the job, and stay solvent. In the next segment, when we get right back, we're going to talk with Bill Gentry. Bill has written the book, Be the Boss That Everyone Wants to Work For. He is really good at helping first-time managers, and I'm sure you'll get a lot out of our conversation. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. We'll be right back. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area. Welcome to Profitability. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your small business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. You've just promoted an employee to a management position. If you don't train him, he will likely fail. But how should you train him? How do you teach him that he can't be friends with his coworkers anymore? He can only be friendly, one of the tough lessons to learn. My guest today, Bill Gentry, wrote the book on first-time management, Be the Boss That Everyone Wants to Work For. In terms of full disclosure, I read this book and immediately gave it to one of my clients who has 2 first-time managers. It was that good, or it is that good. Bill, welcome to Profitability.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to talk about how to help all these first-time managers and new leaders out there with you.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal book, and I'm really glad that you sent it to me, or your PR people sent it to me. So let's talk about it. How did you start writing this book?
Yeah, so at the Center for Creative Leadership, I have a new position now at a new organization I'll tell you about later, but I was a researcher there. And then probably around 2010, I started really focusing on these first-time managers and new leaders, part of a redesign team for a program that focused specifically on that population, or on first-level managers and supervisors, that whole population. Then I started doing the research behind it, started training the program, and it really got me interested because, as I say in the book and as I tell so many people, they're the biggest population of leaders out there. Yes. Who have so many, who impact so many lives. They have an impact on so many key performance metrics like employee engagement and customer satisfaction, yet they get the least amount of help and support. So I wanted to try to change that and do something about that. So that's what really got me interested. And as I tell people too, right around the time that I signed the dotted line to write the book, I became a first-time manager myself. So I researched them, I trained them, and then I became one as well right around the same time.
It kind of opens your eyes, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does, because all this stuff that you read and all this stuff that you tell people to do, when you're in it, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why the book is so good, because you've actually lived it, done it, and are almost, not, I can't say telling only your experiences, but it really and truly is an experiential book.
Yes, it sure was. And I wanted to let people know that, I'm going through this as well while writing it, and I'm not perfect by any sort of stretch of the imagination, and I fail at things. Here's how I failed. Here's how you can learn from them. You're going to fail too, but it's okay. It's not going to be life-ending, and it's not going to be absolutely horrible that it's going to set back your career. You can learn from your mistakes and get better.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into it. What are the important first? You talk about car, job, leader. What does that all mean about?
Yeah, I tell people, first have such an indelible impression in our lives. And when I kind of open that up and say, think about the first car that you ever had, and when I talk to audiences, I get several people tell me the first car they had. Mine was a 1990 Chevy Blazer. I loved that thing. Do you remember what your first car was?
Yes, my first car was an Oldsmobile. Her name was Ernestine.
That's right. And so many people name their cars. Mine was the Major General, because I loved the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. I wanted something similar. So, but you remember the color, the
Yep.
smell, even some of the stains that might have had. I remember I had a Chinese food leak in the back seat and the kind of stain there. You remember all those things. You remember your first job and like the first day that you were there and all those things that you have. Yes, exactly. And some of them were good and some of them were bad. But first make such an indelible impression on our lives. And when you become a leader for the first time, that makes an indelible impression on your whole way of leading for the entirety of your career. And it can also, what you might not realize, make an impression on all those people who you lead and serve, who directly report to you as well, for the rest of their careers as to what they think leadership may be as well.
Right. I mean, the reason when I started my first business, I thought, okay, this is what I liked about the jobs I had. This is what I didn't like about the jobs I had. This is what I won't do. This is what I really will do. And it actually helped to have really bad experiences as well as good experiences.
Right. Right, exactly.
So, a lot of people are promoted to leadership out of being part of the team, and all of a sudden, either they raise their hand or their manager says to them, I think you would be a good manager of X, and all of a sudden they're not friends anymore. Right.
Yes, so many people, they get promoted because of, as I tell people, it's like when you break up with someone, you use the phrase, it's not you, it's me. And that's why so many people get promoted. It's not about you, it's about me. It's my skills and my talent, my technical savvy, all the things that make me special. And that's what gets them promoted into leadership. And unfortunately, that doesn't stick.
No, it doesn't.
Stay in the leadership. There's so many things that they have to, as I say in the book, flip. There's so many things that they have to flip to be successful in their new leadership role.
Right, and they don't know, and nobody sits them down and says, look, this is not the way it used to be. Here's, go read this book. And that's exactly what we did. We said, go read this book, and it helped a lot.
Yeah, and for some, that's even more than what a majority of people will get. I've read several statistics. One of them was from Career Builder a few years ago. They said almost 60% of people who get promoted into leadership get no training or no development at all. And then when you look at other people and other statistics, those who first-time managers actually do get training get 2 to 5 times less than more senior level executives or who have way more experience, way more tenure.
Right.
And the other thing that I saw as well, there are the average age of a person who gets their first leadership position is around 30. The average age that they get their first training is 42. So they're left for 12 years being on their own, getting nothing. And so that's why I wanted something to change.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about, how do you become successful as a leader? How do we go, not wait 12 years to get your first leadership training? Yeah. Let's do it at 30.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell people it's about flipping their script, and that's the red thread throughout the entire book. And I told, just like I told you that old breakup line, it's not you, it's me. That's the script that a lot of first-time managers have when they get into their first leadership position. It's not you, it's me. And that's what made them so successful. When they step up into leadership, if they continue to do that, they're going to derail. A lot of the research I've done is on derailment, and it looks like, what makes people so successful and then they fail in their first leadership role. It's not you, it's me. They focus so much on themselves. So if they have to flip their script and think about, it's not about me anymore. If they can continue to think about anything they do and say, it's not about me anymore, they're going to be very successful.
And I think, let me kind of go on that. In reality, the things that made them very successful in what they were doing are not the things that are going to make them successful at being a leader, because the skill set for a leader is very different than the skill set that they were great technically or sales-wise or, something like that.
Exactly. So if you're in sales, if you're in research, if you're in finance, whatever, those things that make you successful, again, it's not you, it's me. It's my technical skill, my savvy, my motivation, my knowledge about all sorts of things, my subject matter expertise. When they step up, that's exactly what gets them into leadership. And then when they step up into leadership, they have to flip that script and say, it's not about me anymore. And think about, it's not about what makes me successful. It's about we. It's about my team and our team. That's what's going to make us successful now.
All right. So that really is mindset training and mindset changing and flip. You flip from me to us. That's a huge thing for a lot of people to do.
It is, and because we have been geared ever since we were little kids and in kindergarten and in grade school about our smarts and focusing on me, myself, and I. Mm-hmm. And it is a huge flip to focus on other people. And when people actually get that, if they stop shining the spotlight on me and start shining the spotlight on all sorts of other people and what they're doing and what my team is doing and what we are doing, that's what's going to make them successful as leaders.
All right. So what's the motivation for training?
Yeah. So as I tell people, there are 6 different aspects of their script that they have to flip. And the first one that I saw in the research, and the book is based on almost 300 new leaders who came through leadership development programs. One of the first things I saw was that the new leaders who were successful, they had a different motivation, a different mindset about training development. The ones who were least successful, they thought that, they're going through training and development because they wanted to look good in front of other people. They wanted to have people know that they were going through training and development, be special. Those were the ones who were least successful. The ones who were most successful went through training and development because they love to learn. I think learning is intrinsically pleasing. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. Those are the type of people who, when I looked at the research, if they had that type of motivation, they were seen as more effective by their own boss and by others that they work with. So that flipping of their mindset, which is the first part of their script that I urge new leaders to flip, is about mindset. Think less about wanting to stand out in front of other people and more about wanting to learn because it's fun, it's exciting, it's intrinsically pleasing to themselves.
Right, and then giving the pats on the back to the team rather than themselves too.
Yes, exactly. When the team does well, and that's another part of the script when I talk about flipping your relationships, focusing on others.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, now, mind chatter and fix versus growth. I mean, what are those two?
Yeah, so that's another part of your mindset that you have to flip. Carol Dweck is a world-renowned researcher thinking about mindset. She's written a book called Mindset. Those with a fixed mindset really have to think that they have to be perfect. They can't make mistakes. those with a growth mindset really want to learn for learning's sake and know that it's okay to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And what she's seen in her research, those leaders with a growth mindset are seen as more effective in their job than those with a fixed mindset.
Got it.
And then finally, one of the cool findings that I saw in my research as well, before they came to this leadership development program, they had to write a letter to themselves in their past. As in, if you could go back in time and tell yourself all the sorts of stuff that you learned, what would you tell yourself? And there were so many amazing stories and lessons. But one thing really stood out. Some people said when they wrote their letters, they said something like, I remember the time when I first became a new leader and I learned A, B, and C, and I learned I had to do this. Others said, you remember the time when you first became a new leader and you had to learn A, B, and C, and you learned how to do this. The people who used I and me and my more in their letters were seen as less effective in their jobs. The people who used you and your more in their letters, that second person pronoun, they were seen as more effective in their jobs. So even the way that we talk to ourselves matters and helps predict whether we're going to be good and be successful in our new leadership role or not.
Good. All right. And what about communication and influence?
Yeah, so the second part of the script that you have to flip that I saw, the first one you just talked about mindset, is your skill set. What you talked about before, a lot of people who get promoted into leadership is because of their technical skill. And when I ask people, tell me about think about the best leader that you've ever had. What sort of things has that leader done? Nobody ever talks about that leader had technical skill. They always talk about all these other things, communication and influence especially. And when I looked at these new leaders and their assessments, their 360s, where they had their boss and their peers and the direct reports rate them, we had many, many competencies that they were rated on. We also asked them, are they good or bad at it? And are they even important for success in the first place? And no matter if it was their boss, their peers, their direct reports, whoever said it, even the new managers themselves, there were 4 that stood out as being, hey, everybody says these are important, but not a lot of first-time managers are good at it. So that's a gap that I think we need to fill. Communication and influence were 2 of the 4 that stood out so much that they need to be successful.
Well, very good. Okay, when we get back from the break, we're going to continue this conversation. And thanks for watching Profitability. We'll be right back.